What's up? So, I told you guys, I promised you guys that I was going to give you the full episode or the full rundown of what's going on, right? So, my first episode, you guys were introduced to me, Cassius Play, the musician, you know what I dab into. So, let's get right into it. Okay, so this story starts in 2019-20, okay? I ended up dating this girl. I'm going to leave this space here because I'm going to put the text messages and images here so you guys can follow me in the story, okay? So back in 21, I get contacted right here. I'm going to put the text message here. I got contacted right here. So I'm going to blur her name, but this is a family member of my ex's, right? And she starts telling me that she needs to talk to me about something very important. So at the time, I'm thinking, well, she's probably going to ask me to borrow some money. I don't know. I was just thinking like maybe she's going through something. I don't know. This was the last thing I could have ever imagined was going to happen. So she messages me, right? So we end up FaceTiming a couple of days later. This is in May of 21. She tells me that since I was in a relationship with her sister had already had the child, right? And she said, this child's pretty much one. And the first birthday that he's ever had was crappy. So I think you should get involved. I think this is your child. I think this is your son. He looks like you. I won't post any pictures, but here's some more of her text messages. Now I'm going to blur out the pics, right? But here I started sending pictures of me as a child. And this was her reaction, right? So first thing we do is we start coordinating on when she's going to see this child again, just to not be crazy. I don't want these people to say that I'm a lunatic claiming for this kid to be mine when it's not, right? So I start coordinating. And I'm sure you guys have seen these at Walmart. I went and got one of these. It was $140, dude. So it was a big ass fucking purchase. I was like, fuck it. I was like, whatever. Let's get this over with and let's find out if this is really who you think it is. And let's find out if this child really belongs to me. So we coordinated and we did a DNA test. This DNA test, they swab the inside of your mouth with a cotton swab. And then the parent in question spits on like a little liquid thing. And you have to fill it up. It's like a clear, I don't have anything to show you an example of. But you fill it up with your spit, and then you put the swab of the child in question in an envelope, sealed. You certify you sealed it, and you send it off. So we start talking on the text messages, but we kind of just fall off, We say, well, let's see what happens. Let's send this DNA test. We send it. It takes like 2 months, dude. Here's some text messages of me telling my dad that the thing arrived. So I call my dad, dude. I called my dad that morning. I remember it clearly. I was living with Jake. Me and Jake were living together in Murray. If you know us, you know which apartment. It was wild, right? But we were living over there, and my dad calls, and we find out that it says 99.9% right here. Check these results. Right here it says that I'm 99.9% father of the child that was tested. And according to the sister and what I seen, it was this child that's in question that got tested. I saw it, So I thought, well, it's my son. So I immediately start Googling the best law firms in Utah. I hire one. The process begun. We did what's called a paternity disclosure, a paternity petition. So we made a paternity petition basically informing my ex that I felt like that child in question was my child. So we started the process. This is in 21. She gets contacted, the court, through months and months of dipping and dodging cases and dodging dates. We finally got her to commit to a DNA test that we paid for. I paid for it. And guys, when you pay for these tests, they're not cheap. I mean, I remember one of our tests, I paid for a couple tests, but this test was not cheap. It was $400. And so the court orders it. The court gave us a couple options. The court will ask you, and this is the law that I'm trying to change. The court will ask you if you have a witness that can testify or that can rectify that this child's a correct child. At that point, my only witnesses were on her family side, and they weren't gonna show up for me. They just sent me pictures and videos, but they weren't gonna be at a clinic saying, yeah, that's my nephew. So I didn't have a witness, and my ex didn't know that I knew what my child looked like at that point. I already know what he looks like, right? There's pictures, he looks like my daughter. I already know what this child looks like. So I couldn't go there. It wasn't something I could be there at. My attorneys didn't know what the child looks like. So we trusted that she was going to bring the correct child, right? We trusted that the clinic was going to have a process where she couldn't deceive the clinic. There wasn't like a way to deceive the clinic, we thought, right? So this is called a motherless DNA test right here. And this is what this clinic offered. I'm not going to name the clinic because I told you guys they're still pending litigation. So this clinic only offers this kind of test. It's called a motherless test, means that I, as the father in question, get tested, and a child who's supposedly supposed to be the correct child gets tested as well. Their process, they have a very crappy process. They basically ask the person that brings the child for a birth certificate, a driver's license. They ask them to thumbprint the child and they take a picture of the child. But they don't verify the identity of the child, and that's the problem. So my ex brought one of her nephews to try to deceive me and try to deceive the clinic didn't verify the identity of this child. So they tested one of her nephews, and she thought, oh, I'm going to beat him in this system. So I got a court order saying that there was a hearing for a dismissal. That means that they wanted to take whatever rights I was claiming I had completely away. They were trying to say I wasn't the father at all, that I was a weirdo, that I was just contacting them for no reason. Again, remember, the family contacted me and told me this child was mine, right? That's the difference. They had said this child was mine. So we go back to court. I show the courts all my evidence through text messages, through contacting the grandma. This text message here, the grandma had stated in the text message that that child that I sent a picture of wasn't her grandchild. Let me turn this down before it gets me banned. So I had this text message from the grandma saying, I don't know who that is not my grandson. So I went back to court with that and I said, look, court, this lady's trying to deceive me. This girl's trying to tell you guys that this is not my son because she deceived the clinic. She brought in the wrong child. So I brought all these pictures, text messages. The judge looks at everything, dude, and this is a hearing where I can lose everything. They can take everything away and dismiss my case, and everyone's going to make fun of me and say I'm a weirdo that tried to claim this was my son and it wasn't, right? So I was fighting it. At this point, keep in mind, I'm already 10 grand into lawyers because we've been going back and forth. She's been trying to avoid, Jesus Christ, Bitcoin just dropped. But, you know, she was trying to avoid bringing the child in for the longest time. So at this point, the court has seen enough evidence that they don't dismiss the case. Now, this is back in 21, dude. So after that initial scenario, we went back to the court and we requested that another DNA test be done where the mother is also tested. And my ex refused that for 3 years, 3.5 years, she refused to do that. So what happened? August 9th of 2024, 3.5 years of her avoiding this. 3.5 years of her going on contempt of court, getting jail time. She was sentenced to like 10, 15 days of jail time for not agreeing to what the court was asking her to do. So what happened? August 9th, I was recognized as the legal father of this child, who, keep in mind, 3 years prior, they were saying it wasn't mine at all. But now I'm legally the father. And in February of 25, which we're living in now, I was granted sole and physical custody of this child. But keep in mind, this child hasn't met me for years and years since that DNA test. So this child doesn't know me. So on this next episode, you're going to watch the life of having this child that's mine, who hasn't met us, who doesn't have that bond with us, live with us. Right? Crazy, man. But that's what happened, dude. And so now I'm in the process of figuring out how to change the laws so that other fathers don't have to live to what I've lived. Unfortunately, it was a traumatic event. It's still a traumatic event for my daughter, for me, my girlfriend, my parents, everyone involved, the other family. It's probably going to be traumatic for the other children, you know. It's still a long process. It's very expensive. At this point, I'm well over $25,000 in legal fees just to have my son. It gets expensive, dude. 4.5 years of litigation gets expensive. So if you're going to fight for your children, make sure you got some money saved, got some credit cards with some really high credit limits. Because Jesus Christ, the law's against us fathers. But yeah, that was El Chisme. You wanted to know. That's the story, guys. So be careful who you're having children with out here. You might just go through some experiences like mine. Again, follow me, subscribe. Let's talk in the comments. Talk to me about your experiences. Tell me about your children. How did you, fight for your children? Are you currently fighting for your children? Is the baby mother keeping them away? Send me a DM. Subscribe, comment, like. Again, share this message with all these single fathers out there fighting for their children. I'll talk to you guys soon. Subscribe. Life with Cassius, baby.